A used Nissan Armada can be a truly satisfying purchase. Aloha guys, it's Joe Tunney and I'm in the city where my family has lived for over 150 years, the beautiful city of Oakland, California. And we're taking a look at a pre-owned Nissan Armada. And by the end of this video, you're going to know all the highs and all the lows of the new generation Nissan Armada. I'm going to pick one that I think is just the right one for you. I want to tell you which year you want to buy, how much you need to pay for it, all the best parts of the Nissan Armada, and things that maybe aren't the best parts but are important to know before you buy. We're going to get the right price, the right year, the right model. We're going to find the perfect Nissan Armada that's just right for you. Also, I'm going to highly recommend the Nissan Armada, one of the great sport utilities on the road today. Now, this is actually based on a totally different vehicle, and for those of you who travel outside the United States and have over the past 10 or 12 years, you know exactly what this vehicle is. It's the Nissan Patrol. It's one of the most popular sport utilities around the world. It's been that way for decades. One of the reasons that you see Nissan Patrols out in the rest of the world for decades is that they last for decades. But it's a different personality than a lot of North American sport utilities. The most popular always is going to be the Chevrolet Tahoe, which is an amazing sport utility, but a totally different kind of experience compared to the Nissan Armada. And so comparing this to the Chevy Tahoe, not a very good comparison. That's a very popular way to get an inexpensive Cadillac Escalade, you know, that kind of living room on wheels, sumptuous drive type of experience. The person looking at the Armada is maybe cross-shopping against the Toyota 4Runner, something that's a little taller in the saddle, something that's a little bit more rough and tumble off-road. This is going to be that perfect next size up vehicle for that 4Runner shopper. Now, one thing that you're going to notice right off the bat is that this comes with a V8 engine. Around the world, it has a lot of different kinds of engines, not the case in North America. This is the VK56. It's an aluminum block and heads. This VK 8-cylinder has actually been around since early in the 2000s. It shares a lot even going back to like the Infiniti FX45, which came out in 2003. Now, a lot of people say, well, if this is based on the new Patrol, and the new Patrol came out in 2010, then this is just super duper old technology, and it's not going to stand the test of time like new stuff is going to. Again, that's just not the case. You've heard of the Nissan GTR, for example. That's a 6-cylinder, turbocharged rocket ship of a car, one of the great sports cars in the world today. But when Nissan and Infiniti race these cars, that platform of cars, they actually don't use a hypered up 6-cylinder turbo. They use a VK 8-cylinder without turbos, because this engine, even in Formula 1 type or GT1 type of racing going back to 2009, has developed 600 and more horsepower. In fact, this engine can fairly comfortably generate over 800 horsepower. Why that's significant to you, that at 390 horsepower, although this is a very powerful vehicle, it's actually underbuilt. It underperforms its capacity, and for somebody looking for a vehicle that might last 250,000 miles or more, this is going to be the right choice for you, because this is an engine that's designed for so much more. But at 390 horsepower with a 7-speed automatic transmission, this is an absolute breeze for the Armada. The VK engine is made in Decherd, Tennessee. Funny tidbit about that town, only 2,400 people live there. They've been building Nissan engines for quite a long time, Daimler engines as well. 2,400 people live in this small town. They build 1.4 million engines a year, and this engine is one of them. The VK56 started off as the DE series, a little bit more modern than that now. Now, this is a direct fuel injected vehicle, and so that's going to help with a little bit of the fuel economy. As big as it is, it doesn't get great gas mileage. We've been averaging about 15 or 16 miles per gallon. Come on, take a look inside. One of the criticisms of the Armada is that the room in the third row seat really isn't all that generous. Truth is, I'm 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, and it's actually very comfortable. Although there's not tons and tons of leg room or anything like that, there's not tons of headroom, it does have a fully independent rear suspension. That's actually a big deal. You know, if you look at the 2021 Tahoe, for example, you know, new this year is that it has an independent rear suspension. And just what that means is the suspension components are compartmentalized near to the wheel itself instead of all the way across, or big leaf springs or something like that. And so it opens up the opportunity for a lot of room inside. So it doesn't have tons of room in the third row seat, but I'm actually very, very comfortable. One flip of a switch and you're back outside. Second row seat, well, second row seat, as you can imagine, in a bigger sport utility like this, is really generous. Now, if you get a top-of-the-line Armada, or even one that's been mildly customized, you're probably looking at things like a DVD player in the headrest or a drop-down DVD. I don't know, we've had vehicles before with DVD players. They get a little tedious over time, to be honest with you. If you've never had one before, it's something that sounds good in practice, but maybe it's more of a distraction. Other families, no, their kids really enjoy looking at DVDs. If that's your family, go for it. It's not that expensive. If you get one that doesn't have a DVD setup, they're really not that much money in today's world. Let's take a look in back. So, like a lot of these larger sport utilities, as crazy as it sounds, there actually isn't a ton of room behind the third row seat. Now, this does have push button seat fold, so all I need to do is push this guy right here, and the seats fold pretty much flat. Why that's significant? Well, a lot of times, again, vehicles that don't have rear independent suspensions are going to be compromised at the floorboard level, especially in the back. And so this will sit up at an angle, and what little space you have in the back is even further compromised. But what's nice about this is called 60/40 split folding rear seats, is that I can squeeze two people here in a pinch if I need to, and still have 7-passenger seating with all of this trunk space, or 6-passenger seating and even more trunk space, or take it down to 5 and have all the space you need. This would be like a Chevy Suburban in the rear if I had 5. Also, towing. Now, a lot of people say, well, you know, because it's an older platform, it doesn't tow like some of the big boys do. Well, a fully equipped new 2021 Tahoe, for example, is going to tow up to 7,900 pounds. This one actually tows 8,500 pounds. So there's 3 things that I want to cover that are all really important. One is gas mileage and what you should expect. Number 2 is how much I want you to spend on one of these guys. And number 3, what I want you to look for while you're out looking for a pre-owned Armada. Gas mileage. Now, we have been driving all over the Bay Area. We have been from Santana Row down in San Jose to heading out to the East Bay, where we are now, out in Danville, heading out to Alamo. And we've put on about 1,000 miles driving all over Northern California. We're averaging right around 16.5 miles per gallon, everything from Lombard Street in San Francisco to traffic jams to the open highway. Looking at the clock on this particular car, it has a little over 23,000 miles, and it has averaged 15.9 miles per gallon throughout its short life. And so 16 miles per gallon, that's probably realistically what you're going to get. Put that in the back of your mind when you're factoring out the overall expense, because 16 miles per gallon is not that great. What is great, however, is the build quality of the Armada. I'm here to tell you, it's absolutely exceptional. It's so good that I don't want you to spend $40,000 on one of these. I want you to start thinking about $20,000 on one of these, even with 4-wheel drive. I want you to start looking particularly at a 2017 or 2018 SV or SL model. The difference is the SV has cloth, the SL has leather. But there's one sneaky package I want you to look for if you're looking for an SV right around 80 to 90,000 miles. And you may say to yourself, well, I never buy one with 80 to 90,000 miles. Well, then don't buy one. But if you're going to buy one with 50 or 60,000 miles, as it's notifying us that we need to turn right up ahead here. If you're gonna buy one with 50 or 60,000 miles and keep it 6 or 7 years, then what do you care if it has 50 or 60 or 80 or 90? The difference between 50 and 60,000 miles is closer to $30,000. 80 to 90,000 miles, it's closer to $20,000. And so, especially if you get one with fresh tires and fresh brakes, recent service, you're good to go. The SV I want you to look for, SV meaning cloth interior, is the one with the driver's package. The driver's package has the power rear tailgate and the power third row seats. You want those options. Those are really, really good options. An SV with those options is leather interior away from an SL. If you get an SL, you get those options as part of the deal, and you get the nice leather interior as well. But I don't want you thinking 40. I want you thinking 20. And I'm here to tell you, it's going to be the best $20,000 sport utility you ever bought in your life. So a lot of times, things you read on the internet, you'll realize just aren't true. You hear people, we're in the city of Oakland in California right now, and a lot of people say, well, you know, Oakland, it's a terrible city, it's all so ugly and gross. Let's just take a look around here at the beautiful city of Oakland, and you tell me with your own eyes if this looks like a city that...
Why you just burned to death while this
Hating this part, it's bittersweet. Losing it all, love it when cold. Left me with scars, it's bittersweet. I'm hating this part. We used to be lovers without living. Now we just two enemies, babe. We could keep on fighting, keep on dreaming. But how can a soul dream when love is safe? You were my all, both a lover and a friend. We grew apart and now nothing is the same. You were my all, both a lover and a friend. Lover and a friend. Lover and a... I'm not seeing straight. You made me bleed. It cuts like a knife.
So around the world, there's about 1 million different configurations for these Armadas. Only a couple that are going to catch your eye on the pre-owned market. If you're looking at kind of the less expensive models, that's going to be the SV and the SL. SL with leather, SV without. They're all going to have navigation. They're all going to have that 390 horsepower engine. If you jump up to 2021, you're going to enjoy 400 horsepower. But are you even going to know the difference? No, you are not going to know the difference. It performs exactly the same way. Again, comparing this to vehicles like the Tahoe. So the Tahoe, just like the Armada, has a wheelbase of about 120 inches. This one's 121.1 inches. So generous interior room. They both have 75.8 inch height. So that's the height of the roof compared going from the ground up. However, the Tahoe has about 1.5 inches more headroom than the Armada does. The reason is because the Armada sits up taller in the saddle. For somebody who's not a giant driver that likes a lot of outward visibility, or even if you are a taller driver, you just like a lot of high visibility looking down at the world, the Armada is definitely the one for you. Again, more like an Isuzu Trooper from the old days, or a Mitsubishi Montero, or something from today's time like the Toyota 4Runner. This is that kind of vehicle. If you like Jeep Wranglers, for example, you like to get off-road, you like something that is a little bit more visceral, this is going to be the experience that you're going to love. However, it's still super, super comfortable inside. These zero gravity chairs, you could sit in these things all day long. They are the most comfortable chair for a long driving excursion that you're ever going to sit in. Space, it's not giant. It's not as wide as a lot of the competition. Again though, at 6 feet, 180 pounds, I have all the room in the world in this. Steering wheel, chunky, it feels nice. The stereo system is awesome. climate control, it's pretty simple, a little fussy to be honest with you. To me, the buttons could be away from the shift angle here. And so, you know, stuff like these multi-function all-wheel drive systems where, you know, if you're on the sand or if you're on the snow, all that stuff sounds really good when you're on a test drive. To be honest, you're never going to play around with this stuff ever. It works amazing all the time. This is a true off-road vehicle. You know, going back to the beginning of its history, this is something that competed with the Land Rover back in the day and followed that same kind of evolution. Toyota, again, for folks who experience vehicles outside of North America particularly, you're going to know about the Toyota Prado, or the Land Cruiser Prado as it's called in certain areas. That became the GX470 Lexus, GX460 in today's world. This is that kind of evolution. The comfortable, luxurious, extraordinarily well-built off-road athlete. That's what this vehicle is. Fun to drive, nimble out on the open road, takes turns like a champ, go down Lombard Street in San Francisco, absolutely no problem. Great brakes, just a great family vehicle. And if you have any questions about the Armada or anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. My name's Joe Tunney. You can reach me at joeloveshawaii@gmail.com.